drinking a beer, but we'll give everybody a second to hop in here. Oh, you know what? Damn it. Meant to go live on StreamYard, but we're already here. Whatever. I don't care. I'm tired. Had a long day.
Oh, yeah.
So
I just got a call back from a lady. She left me when she left her check, she wasn't there. There was $80 extra. So I thought, hey, that's a hell of a tip. That's great. You know, she calls me tonight. She goes, hey, what happened to the deck? I'm like, what about the deck? She goes, well, I left you $80 to do the deck. I'm like, well, we never talked about that. She goes, did you see the little smiley face on the back of the check with the note that says deck, please? I'm like, oh, for Pete's sake.
yeah, I'm also not doing a deck for $80. That deck is that better be 4x4.
I know. I was like, I mean, and it actually isn't that big. I think it's like 6x10, but still, I'm like, you know, I can hit you up at the end of the week. I'll be going by your place again, but you might want to leave me a tip.
Oh, what's up, Jim? What's up, Feaster? So we're getting some people in here. I wonder why I can't see these comments. I can see the comments. Whatever. In here. Go full screen, see if that's the issue. No. Anyway, so I'll pop over here. So I'm here with Mike Fox, and Mike is a pressure washer, and you're in what state again, Mike?
We're in Wisconsin.
Nice, Wisconsin. What's up, Luke? What's up, Juan? So Mike also builds trailers for guys. I've seen some of Mike's builds. He's posted some videos. He does really nice work. And I said, hey, man, let's do a live so we can talk about what you're doing. Because, everybody wants stuff, and there's only so many people out there that can build trailers. And we need to spread the awareness of guys that are doing it. Because when we were just talking, Mike and I were chatting before we started, he's already 4 weeks out on builds. So for anybody thinking about, what's up, Tony? For anybody thinking about a build, or like, oh, you're shooting for the winter and get you ready for next spring, his delivery time is already like mid-September. So it's not like there's a crisis, but you got to remember a couple things. One, you're not the only person planning for a winter build. And two, like Mike and I were talking about, is parts are a concern for everybody. The vendors are having trouble with stuff. Like, your build is not just going to be like push button, and it's probably gotten worse in the last year than better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was negotiating today with CleanRight Corporation on this trailer we're trying to finish up. They can't send me the hose reels, and so I was like negotiating with them to upgrade to the next ones, but because I buy so many from them, like, just give it to me for the regular price because you guys messed up. But it's like, it's insane.
So Juan's asking, how far are you from Racine? I don't know how to
say that again for me, Heath.
He says Juan is asking, how far are you from Racine? Racine.
Oh, Racine, Wisconsin?
Yeah, Racine. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a 7.5 hour drive.
That's a bit. He's a ways. Just a little bit. I apologize. I'm not on StreamYard, guys. I was like, whatever.
Well, I mean, he's just in the southern part of the state, so that's not that bad.
Yeah, 7.5 hours in one state is pretty big. That's like Texas style.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier here though. And he knows that. Like, it's 94 straight up from Racine to my place.
Nice.
So,
do you deliver these trailers when you build them?
So we've had a couple guys ask that, and the answer is yes, because those two will be in the fall, so it won't be that big of a deal. Because in Wisconsin we can only wash till October 1st, really. So so yeah, that we are going to do 2 of those, and it could be a little bit more, especially if guys do order them in the wintertime.
So after October 1st, deliveries are an option.
Yeah.
And what's that is like, it all depends on where they are.
Yeah, it really depends on where they are, So I think one guy said he's down in Georgia. And I kind of laughed. I was like, well, why don't you hit up Leon? And he's like, I can't get Leon on the phone. So,
Yeah,
of course, I know
that's what
Leon's busy,
everybody's
you know?
busy. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
yep.
Leon builds trailers. I know BCE Systems will build you trailer. Washmart will build trailers. Will North Georgia Airless build trailers, or do they just sell systems?
So North Georgia Airless does put rigs together, yes.
Yeah. I know PSI here in Texas does as well. I'm sure there's a ton more that I'm just not aware of. Lone Star sells rigs. I don't know if they build custom rigs. But so, I mean, you think though, there's got to be people we're missing, and that's why I like these lives is because, there's guys that have never heard of Mike Fox. There's guys that don't know that you build trailers, and I know that Tony's watching right now. Tony Durrett builds skids, and he does custom work too. Like he'll do stuff. He'll set up trailers. The last time I talked to him, he was 6 or 8 weeks out for skid builds. So it's just like everybody gets backed up, and then it's like if you don't know about who's who in the zoo, like you say, can't even get Leon on the phone. That's why I appreciate you being willing to come on here and about to turn your life upside down. We hope business is good, but
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
then people see. I had no idea who Mike Fox was, and I had no idea he does builds. So I know that that do you only build certain things, or are you custom builds, or are you flexible with it?
So we have two what we call flagships. So you can have a single axle trailer with the pressure washer on it and a gas roof pump. So, I'm a gas roof pump guy or gas soft wash, whatever you want to term it. I know that there was a video this weekend, somebody was dogging it, said it should be a gas soft wash, not a gas roof pump. Whatever, I digress. But with that, you can upgrade. The pressure washer is really the only upgrade, or the water tank. So on the single axle, you can, the flagship with that comes a 125-gallon water tank, 65-gallon bleach tank, 15 surfactant tank. You get Leon's remote system. You get the D30 from Sprayer Depot, which we've been using all season. I do have an AR60 that I just started running 2 months ago. And then you can get a 4.5 gallon a minute, 5 or 8 gallon a minute machine.
When we chatted the other day, I had some questions for you that are unrelated to this, which I really appreciate. I'll tell you right now, guys, like everybody will tell you I'm pretty responsive in general, unless I'm washing. Mike was super responsive. He just said, here's my phone number, like immediately. This is like text, just call me. And he answered my question right away. And you were saying that your AR60 started leaking a little bit, but you had what I thought was a good solution to it. What did you do for that?
Yeah, so and I went back after we talked, looked at it. So the AR60 I got 2 months ago, and we've done 218 jobs with it so far before it started leaking. And so I ordered the part to fix it, and it should be here this week sometime. But when we think about if we can't be curbside, we've got to back in someone's driveway. Do they have an asphalt driveway? We all know what's going to happen if it's leaking, right? So what I did is I took one of those under bed totes for storage for clothes and stuff, and I retrofitted it and actually screwed it to the bottom of the trailer, so when it leaks, it just drips right in there. And then when I'm done with the job, I just pull the plug and drain it out while I'm going down the street.
Yeah, you said you dilute it and then it's like nothing.
Yep. Yeah, I just pour some water in there and I put a plug in the bottom so it just drains right out while I'm driving.
That's smart. So, it's not like it's like pouring out gallons, it's just a leak.
Yeah, no, it's not that. I tell guys, Heath, is that there are guys that have a lot of issues with their gas roof pumps leaking, and there's guys that, like me, it's notorious, the AR-45 or 60, if you have a leak, there's a little screw pin that's plastic, and it has a rubber gasket in there, and that thing is super fragile, wears out right away, which mine did, and that's what's wrong. But the other problem why guys have a lot of leaks in different orifices of the gas roof pump is because most likely they're running the wrong manifold. So with the gas roof pump, think about all the pressure in the chamber that thing creates, is that when it's under pressure, if it doesn't have the right volume to release that pressure, it's going to create a release somewhere within a weakness in the machine itself. And so you've got to run a 1-inch manifold to allow that thing to breathe, as I call it, properly when it's running. If not, that's where it's going to start to create its own leaks, and that's where a lot of guys have issues.
So you're saying don't go with a proportioner that's not 1 inch.
Exactly.
Yeah,
One
the high.
inch.
So like a high flow, like Leon's is 1 inch. I know Panhandle Power Wash Supply sells a high flow 1 inch, and where it's like 1 inch, 3/4, 1 inch. It's like water and SH is 1 inch, and I think the soap is 3/4.
Yep.
Which
Yep.
you would agree that that's a good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because I mean, the soap's not a big deal because I think mine's a 1/2 inch on Leon's because I run Leon's manifold, but that 1 inch water and 1 inch bleach is just absolutely needed for that thing to be able to breathe properly when it's in motion.
I've heard a lot of guys saying that. And I feel like that is a thing, and it's funny. I was talking to a guy that was developing his own, you know, automated or not automated, his remote switch for the gas systems. And I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, 3/4, and I said, "Go 1 inch." No, that was right when I was getting into it all, and I've had the P40 sit in my garage for a while. We've had no issues with the P40, knock on wood. We've been running it for about 3 weeks now. But again, we're very like religious about, we don't let it recirculate for more than 5 minutes, and if we're doing something, we just kill it, and if not, you know, we'll just have somebody run the trigger on it. Just like we have big crews, so that's nice, but when we kill it, we're always on the handle because there's nowhere for the water to go. If you're not on the handle
Yeah.
and you don't release that pressure, and that's what I was trying to explain to guys. When you let off the trigger and it's circulating, it's still circulating. When you let off the trigger or when you kill it, that pressure creates a water hammer that goes straight back into that manifold, and it's
Yeah.
plastic, and it'll crack it. So it's like I feel like the concept is like, well, how can I let off the trigger and go into recirculate? I'm like, well, you know, that water's just recirculating, but like when you kill the system and you stop everything, it's no longer recirculating, and there's a hammer right there. Like that's the difference. Like and that's a
Yeah.
plastic manifold. It's not designed to take that hammer. You know, if they had some kind of unloader for this thing, I feel like it would be different. But like like having a bypass line to recirculate is not the same as an unloader, and unloaders are redirecting that flow, or that's like, I think a lot of guys are like, well, I have an unloader and I can just let it run, and then they think, oh, I'm bypassing my gas system. It's like, no, it's not the same.
Yeah. No, it's not.
And I feel like that, like a lot of guys come out of the gate and they're creating that water hammer and they're trashing seals and stuff, and it's like, well, that's why you have a leak in 3 days, because you killed it like 16 times without being on the trigger.
Well, yeah, and that's with the gas, obviously it has the bypass so it can recirculate. And the other good thing too is that like the AR-60, or even if you have an AR-45 or the P40, is that if you're going to kill the machine, you just keep that gun wide open and allow all that pressure to just come right out.
And you'll
You know,
see it's going to push water for 2 or 3 seconds. So like it's pushing water.
yeah, yep,
And it's not just a like, it like it's pushing water. And
yeah,
my first hand was, we were probably on like our third job with it, and we had the inlet to the machine, the barb or the hose was leaking a little bit. The clamp was loose, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna kill it. Hold the trigger down." And there was two people standing there. Person next to the person holding the trigger heard me say it and turned to him and said, "Hold the trigger down." And the other person looked at them and said, "What?" I didn't hear that because they were, like 50 feet away from me. And so I said, "Okay, I'm killing it." They gave me the thumbs up, and I killed it. And they weren't holding the trigger down. Now, like by the grace of God, because the seal was loose, like it just sprayed water everywhere. It's like I saw firsthand. I'm like, whew. Like, I was like, "Oh, please tell me that and blow the seal out." But I showed everybody. I was like, "Hey, look, see all this water everywhere? One, that's bad. Two, this is why we hold the trigger down." So it was like I had both crews there, so I showed everybody. I'm like, we will be replacing manifolds if you don't always hold the trigger down when you're killing it. And I was like,
yep,
look, if there's an emergency, okay, I don't care. Like if somebody's hurt or whatever, like whatever. But like the big thing is like know your equipment so you don't tear it up.
Well,
And
yeah,
so
the other thing too that I tell guys, like, you know, so everybody, in this industry, they get a little, they puff their chest up. Oh, I'm a 12 volt. Oh, I'm a downstreamer. Oh, I like gas roof, or I'm an air guy. Whatever you want to do, that's just fine. I mean, do what you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable with, or you want to spend your money on. That's fine. I spent a lot of money until I found the gas roof pump, and I was like, dude, this is for me because we do a lot of volume, 5 to 7 houses a day. You know, this works for me, and it's what I like. Okay, it's what I run. So it's efficient in and out, what have you.
we
But
watch houses
I
with it.
want to,
It's nice.
yeah, and I tell guys this all the time when they start to ask me questions is the first thing you need to know in this business is that your equipment is key, but it's always going to fail at some point. No matter what you're running, it's going to fail. And how you set your business model up so that you can react to that efficiently and effectively is what's going to count. You can either have a backup to the backup on the truck or trailer, or you can be broke down right in the customer's house like I was when I first started, and be like, I'm down. I don't know what to do now, and look like a total clown show.
Yeah, I don't use 12 volts, but I have a 12 volt, 100 psi, 7 gallon a minute pump with everything to set it up sitting on the truck. And I have, 2 engines in the garage with another pump in the garage.
Yep.
And we had a pump that we knew was going to need the packing seals replaced. And when it got to the point where we were like, okay, this is pretty bad, we just NASCAR changed it. It was like 24 minutes to change the pump, and then had the seals replaced, and now it's brand new. It's got brand new oil in it, brand new gear, and like you're saying, just we're ready to go. But like, you didn't start that way. I didn't start that way. Like even 10 months ago, like I wasn't sitting with 2 engines in my garage, and it was like,
Yeah.
you wisely reinvest in your company, and occasionally things are just going to sit there, and hopefully I never fire that 12 volt up. But
Yeah, I mean, I've got, if you guys saw the picture of my tandem axle, that's the one that I run. We also build, but I purposely put 2 gas roof pumps on there. That way, if one goes down, I can flip the switch and keep running for the rest of the day, especially when I'm on a roof, or I'm right there on what I call a high caliber customer who's anal and right on your hip the whole time.
yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. And so when you were starting this build, they contact you and they pay for the entire build, and you order everything for them, and it's a discussion, or how do you normally do it?
So they're gonna, obviously we're gonna talk and we're gonna figure out which one best fits them. What do they, what's gonna work for them, right? Especially if they're just starting out or what have you. I do require a deposit down. You're gonna put 65% down, so that at least I have that. I know you're serious, and that as because we already have stuff in the shop that we can start to put stuff together. I have access to trailers already. I have access to tanks already. So, that's not a problem, for me at all here. So, but it makes me feel better that they're serious, and they also know once they're committed, they're committed then. Like this is,
Yeah.
you
Or you got 65% of the build paid for that's sitting in your garage.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because I mean, just the trailer. If you put the trailer on, and the pressure washer and the gas roof pump, like you're already, and then not even the proportioner, but say the proportioner, you're already probably like anywhere from 7 to 10 grand.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's
Yep.
like that's a lot to be stuck with. Like I get it. Like that seems to be reasonable to me, and that's back to like, and do you encourage people to reach out to you to understand what they want so they know what they need to shoot for?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so it's not call Mike when you're ready to pay. It's like call Mike to understand what you need to pay.
Yeah.
You have a conversation about what you need for what you want to do, so you can be in the right place. Because some people are going to start with a tandem, some people are not. But
Yep.
I feel like I think that's really helpful that you are willing to like talk to people, like to point them in the right direction. Be like, hey, what are you doing? Are you just starting out? Well, what's your budget? Okay, then I recommend tandem. I recommend single axle. we built
Yep.
that single axle. Do you build ladder racks too? Do you add ladder racks?
No, we don't do the ladder racks, and we're upfront about that. Where I'm at, it's really hard to get, a fab shop to be able to do that in a good time. Uh, there is one, but let's just say the quality isn't there. So I'm just like, well, that's on you. You can get one for your truck bed or whatever you got, or you can figure out that afterwards.
And they're pretty. I mean, if you just wanted one ladder rack, those add-ons are easy from Home Depot, and they're pretty inexpensive.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
just the side racks, and like
Yep.
we fabbed up. We had Bullseye down here who does skid builds, and they made a ladder rack for the trailer, which is really nice. Um, and then we added a surface cleaner rack, and we just bought the what are they called? What are they called? It's the we drilled them into the rail of the trailer, and it's like the two real nice powder coated. They got them on Amazon, and they have one hook and one clamp, and it holds the surface cleaner, and I love it because it's like super easy access.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, they look
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, they're easy add-ons. It was probably like $80, but I'll be honest with you, it might be the nicest thing on the trailer. They're powder coated of like this black and gray, like kind of camo pattern. I'm like, somebody got fancy with the powder coat. That guy's having a ball. Like, that dude at that shop that's making 1,000 of these a day, he's like, I'm gonna get a little crazy today. Put some blue in here, like. So those are things that like, yeah, I would tell people, like, don't get hard up about something, like, you can add on things later. Like, you can add on a ladder rack, you can add on a surface cleaner rack, like you can add on stuff like that. Like, and it's not hard. I mean, it was like 4 bolts, 6 bolts to add that on. And,
Yeah, I,
drilling through
and
the edge of your trailer is simple.
yeah, and guys look at I've had guys that ask me like, "Hey, I like your tandem, but where's your ladder rack?" And I'm like, "Well, come look at the bed of my truck. I actually fabbed up, in the back of my F-150. I have where my little giant goes, where my surface cleaner goes, and then I've got a bin for pump cans and stuff." And they're like, "Wow, that's pretty smooth." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just not a ladder rack guy in the back of my truck or on my trailer, so I fabbed up something that fits in the bed of my truck for everything else that I need."
Yep. We have them on the service body. We have a ladder rack, which is kind of required. That thing is so um, you know, compressed, which is nice, but and on the trailer we keep the ladders on the trailer. But that was also smart. Is like when you're designing them or when you're buying one yourself, make sure your ladders are going to clear your vehicle. If you know, hopefully they
Yep.
don't go. Hopefully they don't go far enough to get to the vehicle. Like, even our 28-foot ladder doesn't touch any vehicle or get close to it. But like, just be aware. Like, our ladder rack is tall enough to clear our tallest SUV. So, you know, if it was right there, it's not gonna like crush, or say you're backing up or something, like just that little stuff. Like, when you're planning your stuff out, like, these are things that everybody should look at. So how many of the D30s have you built?
Say that again for me.
How many of the D30s have you put out there, like on your build?
So I've got 6 D30s out there. We're all in, well, more than that. The 6 guys that have gotten them, or I've helped set those up. Two trailers that I've built this season have them on it, but then all 4 of my locations, each trailer that I own has a D30 on it, and my guys have been running that, and so have I. And we've run, let's see, each trailer this year got theirs in March, and we haven't had any issues with them.
I was looking at them. I mean, they're nice. What is it, like 1179 for the whole deal? Well, no
Yeah,
skid, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so you got to buy a skid.
yeah, you got to buy a skid for it.
So it's like it'd be about 1279, because a steel skid is about $100. So
Yep,
you're looking at
yep,
like 1279 for a gas roof pump, and it's what, 9.5 gallons a minute and 580 psi.
yep.
And what have you done a bucket test with it? Like, what are you actually getting?
Um, I would say pretty much spot on. I would say we're probably getting about, anywhere between 8.5 to 9 gallons a minute on those.
Yeah, I'd say that psi is a lot to overcome friction. Do you run half inch or 5/8?
Running a half inch actually, but I know that I've talked to guys like if I did the 5/8, the flow would be ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, if you're already close to max because that pumps at 9.5. I was just curious because I would imagine that extra psi bump is enough to help overcome the friction loss to some degree. I mean, I'm asking because I'm curious. Like you get, I don't know if you like my wheels are turning. Like that very day that we had that conversation, I was on. I love Spare Depot. I order from them for stuff all the time. So I was
Yep.
like all over it, like looking in. You buy the one with the gauge on it, right?
Correct.
And
Yep.
the gear reducer, the gear reduction box. But yeah,
Yep.
the whole setup on there is like 1179, and I wanted the electric start motor, and it's on back order.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah. So that,
Motors are ridiculous right now. Like that, and I went and looked at the Predator version of it. It's I can't find one within 100 miles of me.
yeah.
Because I was like, well, I'll just buy the Predator electric start and it'll work. And I couldn't even find one. I'm like, that's annoying. It's like everything is on back order. If they when you reach out for stuff like this, have they given you any indication on is it like because I know like a lot of reels are on back order until December, and so are a lot of the gas roof pumps were on back order until December.
Yeah, so I know like the AR-60's on back order, but and I know right now with like Spare Depot, they don't have the GX160, the Honda for those. Those are on back order. I think they're 4 weeks out. They said, they give you other options. I mean, you can, you know,
There's a
but I did,
Kohler 6 horsepower,
yeah,
six
you
and
do
a
the
half.
Kohler. Yeah, I just did that for a guy on the Chicago build, so I didn't have a choice. But I did know I can tell everybody though that if you want a GX 200 or GX 160, Northern Tool has like a warehouse full of them.
Really?
Oh
I
yeah,
did
they.
see they had the GX 160, but I
Yep.
was looking for the electric start.
Yeah, they. I did not see an electric start in stock, but I just saw the pull starts on them. And the lady I talked to there, contact I have, she goes, "Oh, we have plenty of those. Don't worry."
That's
I
good.
was like, "Oh, well, that's good to know."
Yeah, and like I feel like that's useful too because like we're having this conversation, and you and I both know that you're not going to build a trailer for every pressure washer out there,
Yeah,
but
no.
you're the kind of guy that you're just like, hey, look, this is what I know, this is who's got what. That's the best part about this industry is like, you know, guys like you, guys like Marco, they're not like, if you don't buy from me, I'm not talking to you. It's like, look, I can't, we can't do everything. Like you're not going to build 80 trailers a month. You would
Yeah,
switch
no.
gears.
Yeah, no. I mean, and that's not my angle either. I love washing. I mean, when I quit my corporate job, I mean, I'm the happiest guy in the world. I love to wash stuff, just because it's just so awesome.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I've been back on the I back on a rig last week and this week, and I'm off the rig tomorrow. You know, like my favorite part of this is actually washing, but when you're trying to grow the company, it's not always the right place to be every day.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
happy
tough. Like,
medium.
yeah, it's tough to be an owner operator and do all this other stuff too. And I tell guys, and I learned this the hard way was I'd market, and then I'd be out washing, and then all of a sudden July would hit, and it'd be like crickets, and I'm like, dang it, So you've got to, if you're going to be an owner operator, you've got to be able to balance that and keep that foot on the gas, both washing and marketing. And I've seemed to master that, if you will. I mean, I booked out into October, and I'm on my rig. I'm still doing between 4 and 5 houses a day. So
That's awesome. And how long have you been doing this?
this is my 5th year full time.
Oh man, I'm 10 months in.
Yeah. So I was a corporate. I was in the military. Had my master's in healthcare. Was a hospital administrator for 13 years. Hated it. Hated myself. Long story there. I just up and quit, and my dad had passed away, and this was an option, and so I just went for it. I went all in, and I've never looked back. I'm a better person for it. My wife would tell you I'm the stress-free, happy husband and happy dad versus the angry, stressed out, traveling piece of crap that would leave at 2 o'clock in the morning every time.
Yeah, for real. Like I somebody who's messaged me like, I don't see the live. I'm like, let me just send you the link. There we go. Yeah, after 20 years in the Navy, like I really enjoy this, and just in general, like the change of pace. Submarines is the only option was to succeed, and the only option was to do whatever it took to get home. So there was a lot of like, you just lived your life with your back against the wall because you just wanted to make it home. Like there was
Yeah.
there was no second chances of submarining. There was no whoops. So it was a lot of stress, and I don't even think by the end of it I realized how much stress it was. And then I do this, and I'm like, this is really awesome. And like I had a customer from an HOA call me today, and they said, I wanted to call and tell you that you are a great company. Every single person in your crew is extremely friendly, happy, and professional. Everybody out there was working extremely hard. It was super hot. I'm super impressed. And they were like, what would it cost for me to do this, this, and this, and this service? And I was like, we cleaned their patio and driveway extra. They one part of the HOA job, and they loved it. And they were like, we did the curbs in their entryway. Like a little 27 home HOA gated community, and that's the cool part. Is like when the customers call you and say, "You're the best. Like you stand out as a company. Like we appreciate what you do." And like getting the reviews is always exciting. Like if someone leaves like a really detailed review about the team, like one of us will post it in the work chat, and everybody was like, "Oh, I love that customer." And like, I haven't had a customer yet where I was like, "This is terrible." Most of my customers are like, "This is awesome. Like, these people are great. You want to have a beer?" So, in 5 years, you have 4 cities or 4 locations, or what is it you said you run?
Yeah. So I knew that once I got into it, that I guess in my mind I was like, well, when I was in a corporate world, I was making good money, and I wanted to replace that somewhat quickly. So I quickly, where I'm located, is I looked at, okay, who are my competitors around me and how do they operate? And then where are other cities where there isn't anybody that I could go into and start to build, the business up there. And so that's how I looked at it, went about it. So like, let's see, this year we opened Red Wing, Minnesota. My brother just retired from the military. My brother-in-law did. And so he's there running a rig by himself, and that's been super good, both for him and both for me. And we're going to capitalize on that next year. But, that was kind of my model. Is like, how can I find other cities that don't have anybody doing it, and we can go in and introduce it and make a killing at it.
Yeah, especially when it's seasonal. You guys are probably your rates are probably pretty good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
really
good.
I'm like up north. Like you shouldn't be. My season is almost year round in Houston, so I'm. We may have we did that freeze, and that was the only time. We had like one day in January probably where it was like 45 degrees and raining sideways. I was like, okay, I'm just not putting the crew out in that. Like I just didn't want them to get sick. I was like, I'll go work in this, but I was like, I don't want my employees getting sick. And then they got mad at me. It was Mindy. She was like, I could work in this. I'm like, well, I believe you, but you're also 100 pounds, and your body heat's not my body heat. I'm a polar bear.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
in the spring and in the fall it can get, yeah, in the spring and the fall it can get a little chilly on days. You gotta, and again, that's also experience. I remember when I first started, you roll out early in the morning, it's too cold, and you get to the job and you're like, oh, my manifold's cracked on my 12 volt. Shit. So
Yep.
now you learn, like, okay, I got to wait till it's at least 45 before I roll out that, on a cold day or.
Yeah, rolling down the highway, putting ice cold wind on your stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That'll accelerate. If you're driving and it's 40 degrees out, your wind chill is close to freezing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because you're driving 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, like that is just like game over. And if it was borderline when you left because it was colder, it's bad news. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. We put a tarp over our truck and 2 space heaters in it during the freeze. We didn't even winterize it. I just ran space heaters for a week and checked on it like a newborn baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've done that before too. We're in the garage. I'm waking up at like 2 a.m. just looking like, okay, is everything good?
Did the breakers trip? That's what I was checking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad I
just was
got the
like, no,
only
I got
one.
to use on different circuits. I had an extension cord running into the garage. All right, so and Mike, you're when we get done, you want me to put a number on this so guys can reach you?
Yeah, yeah, go right ahead. They could call me, they could message me, whatever they want to do.
Yeah,
Like we just talked about. I mean, I'd rather talk to them in person and
yeah,
get to know them a little bit. What they're doing, have they been in it for a while, or what are they planning to do with it? I think you probably hear about this, and if guys are listening, and there's some guys that probably know this, is like I try to go deep, not wide, so to speak, in terms of a guys. Oh, I'm going to do gutters and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. And then I'm like, well, what do you want to like specialize in this industry? Like me, it's all about washing houses, washing commercial buildings, and roofs. That's it. We clean gutters in the fall. I also do gutter guards in the fall, but that's after the season is over and we're not washing anymore. When it's wash time, it's all about wash time. I mean, I even hate decks. I won't even do decks really, because I'm like, oh man.
I'm right there with you. Like we'll do wood, but we've learned to price it so high that most people are like, no. And
Yeah.
then the ones that do, we're just like, okay, like you're paying what we want, so we're okay with it. And we've gotten to the point where we can make stuff turn out really good, and not just me. Like there's people in the company that's the best part is when you get somebody else that you can trust with wood because wood is like there's no take backs.
Nope, not at all.
It's a one and done. And like and I trained guys on how to do wood, and I'm just like we're just gonna start training on my fence because it's like almost a given that someone will stop in the middle of a stroke and put a line in a fence. It's just like it's unnatural for people to do it at the beginning. They either go in too close and put a line in, or they pull out too far and they realize they're not cleaning, so they'll go the back end and put a line, or they'll see they miss something and try and go backwards, and I'm just like, oh my god, like it. Now I've trained enough people because I have guys come down all the time. Is I know that that's going to happen, and I'm like, let's just come on the back of my fence and just clean it one board. I don't care if there's a line on it.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it. Like, look, what's wrong with your fence? It's called training. The
Yeah.
back. But man, I really appreciate your time. And I know that you, like you said, you're booked out for a month. I'm gonna put Mike's phone number up here. You can also message him on Facebook. And if you didn't hear, like, you can text him. You can talk to him about what you're looking for. If you're not sure what you're looking for, he'll also talk to you about what you want to do because he's got a lot of experience in this industry. He can make recommendations. Just because you want to do something he doesn't do doesn't mean he's not aware of it. You do this for 5 years, you can do almost anything. So please, take advantage of that. So, because I get guys reaching out for me for trailer builds, and I'm like, yeah, we don't do that, but I've considered it. But it's back to my season is almost year round, so I just don't know that I have the bandwidth for it. And so we're closing in. It's middle of August, so you only got 6 weeks before you can possibly pay for a delivery to get Mike in your driveway with a trailer.
That's right.
So I really appreciate the time, man, and I appreciate you like educating me on some stuff because like I'm a curious guy, and like I'm definitely buying a D30. Like I'm I, I'm tempted to just buy it myself just because I want to see it. Like, not even ask the company to buy it. Like I just want one. Like
Yeah.
I just
No.
I just
Yeah.
want to see it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, and if you're cool with this, I'm gonna put this on my YouTube channel because I like guys to be able to go back and if they see a live, they see all of them, and that way it doesn't just get disappeared with the 100 comments in a day.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, Heath. I mean, just thanks for being on and just going through this, and I think it's great. So.
Yeah, I hope everybody got something out of it, and that just I've seen you around, but I haven't seen you heavily in our group, so I appreciate you taking the time to come on here and talk about what you do and who you are, and there's somebody else that guys can reach out to when they're looking at doing something like this. Because some guys start small, and then some guys will just run that 4 gallon a minute out of the back of their truck until they're ready to just switch and they go buy a built thing, and this is the right venue. If you don't want to build it yourself, a guy that's got experience, one thing I'll say is that I built a truck and I built a trailer. I'm learning something every time. If you're not super mechanically inclined, it's worth it to pay somebody that's been doing this for 5 years and that builds these trailers consistently, because he's not learning how to do this. You know how to do this right away every time. You're paying for that experience. You're paying for this to work right out of the gate. And if for some reason they got the trailer and there was an issue, they can call you and go, hey, this isn't working right. And you're going to be like, okay, I've seen this before. This is what we're going to do. So you've got that. Like, if you build it yourself, you got nobody to call. Maybe a vendor will talk to you. I mean, most of them will, but like, they didn't put your stuff together. They're not going to like hand over hand your plumbing system. You're going to be on the Powerhouse Pros with a video and you're like, what do I do?
And I'll get and be honest, I'll get those calls and I'm like, dude, I have no idea how you put that together. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, but that's all I got for you.
Yeah, but if you put the trailer together, you know what you did. You know what it could be right out of the gate, or what you've seen before. So there's a lot of benefit to that, and and like, when you clean somebody's house, if they call you and like, oh, there's an issue, you're gonna make it right. If somebody is like, there's a freak thing, like I bought my P40 from WashMart and my pulley was not engaging all the way, and he was like, I just need to send you a new one. That was like his answer. I was like, well, cool, I appreciate that, but like, is this a known thing with colors? I'm just my first color, and he's like, no, it can happen. He's like, did you get bleach on? I was like, no. He's like, I was like, this thing's immaculate, and he's like, okay, cool. He's like, yeah, I don't know, that's odd, they just fail. And so I was like, all right, cool. So same thing, like, you got that reach back for somebody that purchases a trailer and like and that expertise. But and your trailers are all new purchased, right?
Yep, absolutely.
There you go. Well, I really appreciate it, man. I appreciate your time. I will download this. I'll get it put up on YouTube. After it like processes Facebook, usually takes 5 or 10 minutes. I will add your contact info in there. And again, I'll tag you. So anybody, if you don't want to text him or call him, you can just click on his Facebook profile and message him. And Mike will get back to you. So have a good one, brother.
Thanks, brother. Have a good one.